So I'll start with Harrison Phillips. Will miss the year. Sad. He's just starting to really show what he could do. Thought he made some plays during the game. He did not redshirt last year, so at least we have the option now. He has the option now down the road to get this year back. For the record, he did consult me before he said anything publicly. I told him it was up to him. It was his news. If he wanted to say it before, then I told the media today, and he said he was going to wait for a little bit, but then still say it this morning. So that was cleared through me for him to say it publicly. Once again, it's his news to give. So that's unfortunate. As far as coming back after this past game, just didn't play indicative of how we prepared, indicative of how we practiced, how good training camp was. That's really in all phases. The defense did a good job holding on, but still didn't play to the defensive level that we're used to and that we think we're capable of. Giving up 55% conversions on third down is just not something that we do. And offensive, only getting 30% conversions was not what we want to have happen there either. I do think that we are coming together. Just didn't come together the way that we had hoped for game one. Then again, it is still game one. We got a lot of games left, a lot of football left, and I think we got a chance to have a really good group and hopefully start to get on a roll this weekend.
David, could you address Harrison's situation a little bit more? I didn't see him getting help off.
It's typical, with ligament injuries sometimes where you don't see it and it doesn't look drastic and it hurts, but it feels like every other time that you get banged or get twisted. He didn't think it was that bad. Initially, doctors weren't sure it was that bad, but of course we're always going to be overly cautious. We were not going to put him back in the game because we needed to check him out. So he did come back out after halftime with ice on his knee, knowing he wasn't going to come back after halftime.
Was it a torn ACL?
It's a major ligament. Yeah.
How does this affect your defensive line? Thomas, I assume Thomas will start, but how does it affect you don't have much depth there in the first place?
Well, that's the thing. That's where it hurts is our depth. Now, we're gonna have to lean on some guys because we can't play three guys. Got to play more than three guys. So, Jordan Watkins came along a little bit towards the end of training camp. He got dinged up in training camp and came back and did some nice things for us. We're going to need him to step up and play. We'll see if that gets Luke Hamatule back in the mix on the inside. We'll see if Nate Lone gets back in the mix on the inside. We have a few other options, but those are the three main candidates right now.
What about Kevin's performance in the game?
Kevin, I thought started off the game outstanding. Saw everything, was getting the ball out of his hands, played pretty well. We missed a couple, but, we don't expect guys to be perfect. But missing that touchdown pass, I know just eats away at him. It's been eating away at him since last Saturday. But he made some nice throws, and then we dropped some balls. And overall, I thought he played about a B for him. He knows he can play better. But I thought he gave us a winning performance when you look at the game from beginning to end. We got to keep him getting hit. We got sacked a couple times by guys that should have been blocked. And we had some opportunities to get the ball down the field where he didn't have time to get the ball down the field. So those are things that we have to get better at, but I thought Kevin played well.
He didn't have. I didn't see too many design runs for him. Was that not part of the game plan, or were they spying on him, or what?
There were a couple, and a couple that he checked out of because of the defensive looks, which were good checks, which got us to pass plays or got us to different runs. But we did have a couple design runs. Two of them got called, and one of them, was a give. It's a read option, and he gave it. So yeah, it's Kevin's rushing yards are going to come from both scrambles and from called runs, and we need more of those. But at the same time, we're not going to run things that we don't think are good versus the looks that we're getting.
Have your conversations with him about when to run, when to throw been any different this training camp than the past few years?
Definitely not. definitely not. He's an athletic quarterback, and we need him to get out and go. You know, if people are covered, that means nobody's left for him, and he's got to be able to run. And that's been his career for the last, going on 4 years as a starter. Once again, he can slide in the pocket, move in the pocket, escape the pocket, and throw the ball. But then he can also take it out and get his positive yards. And the combination of those scramble yards and his quarterback-driven runs are something that we depend on.
Did Northwestern do anything that surprised you?
I don't want to be disrespectful to them because I thought they had a really good game plan for us. They didn't give us a lot of things out of the ordinary. They played really, really hard. They did not make any mistakes. The few times we were able to shake free in coverage, because I thought they had a good coverage scheme against them, we dropped the balls or we missed a throw. And those are big plays that change games. Dropping a 3rd and long in a 2-minute drill keeps the drive going, and we might get points after or before halftime, And then dropping a touchdown pass and missing a touchdown throw, those 3 plays are game changers, and could have changed the game. So those are the opportunities that we can't let slip past. But as far as what they did against us, they played really hard. They played really well. They had a really good scheme. They would, blitz a couple and drop 8 guys and only rush 3, and they did a good job.
You had 85 yards rushing, 3 sacks, a lot of hurries. How would you assess your offensive line's play, especially after that first drive? That seemed like night and day.
It absolutely did. Absolutely did. I thought Josh Garnett played extremely well. An individual performance, which, never just counts on the offensive line. I thought Graham played well for his position as well. But as far as our cohesiveness, there were times where we had protection. The quarterback stepped in the pocket and made great throws. There were times we had protection where we missed a throw, we dropped the ball. And there are a couple times too many where he got rushed. And a lot of that goes on the offensive line from the outside perspective, but not all of it should go on the offensive line. We missed a couple of protections from the running back position as well. And protecting the quarterback is paramount, especially when you're playing against a team like we are this week that will come after you.
College football, David, you don't get preseason games. So you really don't know what you have until you play that first game. I, for instance, thought your offense would have been a little better. The defense would have struggled. I mean, what were your impressions after game 1 with this new set of teams?
And that's why, and we never make any excuses. We play whoever, wherever. And it's a reason why a lot of teams are hesitant to schedule a Division I opponent first game, right? Because you want to shake a lot of the rust off against a lesser opponent. And we don't necessarily believe that's a good thing for college football sometimes. So we don't mind being challenged right off the bat. But, in particular, and not just offensively and defensively, we did just about everything you could in the first game to help yourself lose the game. Lining up offsides 3 times on the defensive side, once or twice on 3rd downs, I believe. Giving up, and we don't give up a lot of explosive plays, but giving up 2 big explosive plays are things that we typically don't do just by our scheme and guys being where they're supposed to be. So there's a ton of things to clean up. The good thing, in my opinion, it's not scheme related. It's not personnel related. I think I like what we're doing on both sides of the ball. I like the guys that we have doing it. We'll always, of course, make some adjustments, both a little bit scheme and a little bit personnel week to week. But if we play better, we have a chance to be extremely good. And that's on my shoulders to make sure we got the right guys in the right places and doing the right things.
You got UCF coming in, not a cupcake either. They're a team that, if you're not careful, they can take away your home opener also.
There's no question. A very, very good, experienced coaching staff that's coached in a lot of games on this level and the NFL level. Varied schemes on both sides of the ball that know how to get after you. They have athletes that can run and do some special things. Really good running back, 2 really good receivers that had big games last week. They got big guys up front on the defensive line and linebackers. So this is a very, very tough physical football game that we're gonna have to play much better to have a chance to win.
How would you assess the inside linebacker position aside from Blake, and did you gain any clarity there?
I think still for the first extensive playing time, I thought Kevin Palma played well. I think he did. I thought Jordan Perez probably started off a little slow and then came on late in the game and played extremely well. So I think we got two guys there that are ready to play, that are still going to have a couple of bumps and bruises just because we're going on game 2 for them as far as extensive playing time is concerned. We'll protect them to a certain degree, but at the same time, we got to let them play. And both those guys made some plays. Both those guys made some nice tackles. Both those guys did some things that they're supposed to do to help somebody else get tackles, which shows their unselfishness. So the only clarity I got was that, both those guys are ready to play.
David, you didn't have many deep throws in this game. You had the Rector one when he dropped the ball. But were they taking that away from you? Was the protection just not good enough to do that? Or was it the fact that you don't have aside from Rector, you don't have the receivers to go deep?
I don't think that the last one's the case. I think, I'm smiling because, I've been asked repeatedly about being conservative on 3rd and 17 and 3rd and 15. And when a team plays 2-man, which means they have 2 safeties really deep, they play 2-man. They love for you to throw it deep so they can go intercept the football. They played some 3 deep zones where they dropped 8 guys into coverage. And we had post routes and we had go routes and we had double moves. But they were playing, as we typically play, deep to short. They're not giving up the deep balls. So we had to be creative. So we found a way to get Greg Tabawada down the middle. We found a way to get Michael Rector matched up with a safety and get him across the field. So it took some orchestration on us to manufacture those deep throws. When a team is deciding to play deep, if you just go back and take deep shots, they're going to intercept the ball because they're in position to make those plays. So we're not going to force it, and we never have. Even when we had Andrew Luck and Chris Owusu and Kobe Fleener, we take calculated shots versus specific coverages. Besides that, we need to be efficient in our passing game, and we were not. So that's why you feel stagnant when you don't complete the standard 6 or 7 yard passes and get to 3rd and medium and convert those.
How do you get the defense out of taking it deep? What do you do?
Well, it's 2 things. Number one, when you do throw the ball, you complete it and get positive yards and get to 3rd and 2, as opposed to throwing incompletions and staying in 2nd and 10 or getting 2 penalties to get you back to 2nd and long. So it's about being efficient. It's about completing passes. It's about running the ball and getting positive yards, which we did at times. We had a couple really nice runs, 6-yard run here, 12-yard run there. Christian McCaffrey, first play of the second half, breaks out an explosive run, which is outstanding. We come back and get a 2nd and 5. 2nd and 5, we take a relatively, not a deep shot, but we throw the ball down the seam to Austin Hooper. May or may not been pass interference. We get to a 3rd and 5 that we should convert, and we don't convert. So there's a drive that starts off on the right path, and then we have an opportunity to get a first down, and we don't. So once again, that's on us to stay in rhythm and stay in our groove and continue to get positive yards.
David said you were chuckling about that. What do you say to people who say you're too conservative in this era of wide open offenses? You don't open it up a little more.
I say don't live in the moment and look at what we've done, and even look at what we've done since Andrew Luck left. Don't even look at the time that Andrew was here. We're breaking records. Look at what we've done since Andrew left. And there are multiple times we scored over 30 and scored 60 once and 50 a couple times and in the 40s. I want to say 4 of the last 6 games of the year last year we scored, over 30. But it's a combination of how well we play on offense and how well we play on defense. We shouldn't have to score 50 points to beat somebody if we're playing the defense the way that we should. If we run the ball the way that we should and complete passes the way that we should, we'll win time of possession. We'll be in positive position. We do well in the red zone. I mean, the formula for the West Coast offense hasn't changed in however many years. It's about taking care of the football, being smart, getting positive yards. The explosive plays are going to happen when they're there, and you've got guys like Michael Rector and Christian McCaffrey and Devin Kajus and Austin Hooper who have made big plays in their careers. Those big plays are going to happen as long as you can convert on 3rd downs and get in the groove offensively, which is what we need to do.
How did you think Christian McCaffrey
I thought he played well. You know, he missed a pass protection and turned the ball over, which I know eats at him alive. He's a ridiculous competitor. I think it's just a start for him. I think it's just the beginning. I think he can run the ball between the tackles as well as outside and catch it, and we'll continue to be versatile with him. But I thought he had a solid performance. I wouldn't say it was his best or what he expects of himself.
Have you dropped the Wildcat?
No.
Who would take it when you get back into it? McCaffrey?
We'll see when we call it. Let's try.
How did you think Kalambayi played?
I thought he played well. They didn't have a lot of action his way, but he made some great hustle plays coming across the field to make some tackles. It's Blake's an inside linebacker, so he's going to be able to go sideline to sideline. The outside linebacker, sometimes the action has to come to him, or they got to run it down from the backside. And I think the combination really of those three guys, by three I mean Blake and Pete and Kevin Anderson, I think those guys, between the three of them, are going to make a lot of plays as we continue to get experience at the other inside linebacker position. But I thought Pete played well.
On your depth chart, Rector and Kajuster know the starters, and obviously Thomas at defensive tackle. Are you going to make any other lineup changes this week?
I don't believe so, but the week's early.
In the offensive line, there was a lot of competition on the right side for training camp. Based on what you saw in game one, is there a chance for anyone else to slide in or at least get game action?
We have some things. We didn't get a chance to go down to our goal line and short yards package. We're bringing our extra offensive linemen. Nick Davidson's involved in that, and a few of our other guys. But I thought Casey Tucker played well for a first-time starter. Never played that many games or that many plays in a game in his career yet, and I thought he played well. He's another one that wasn't perfect, but you see the beginnings, and he's powerful. He's very powerful. He's athletic, once again, he's not going to be perfect either. But we can get into midseason with him. We'll have something we think is pretty good at the right tackle position. And I think Johnny Casper's played well last week, probably as well, if not better than him all last year. So I think he's growing and improving. Graham Schuler played better than most of how he played last year. So I mean, we're still coming together as an offensive line, and now we're having a young guy in there at the right tackle, but with 4 experienced guys, it's a far cry from last year having 1 experienced guy and 4 new guys. So once again, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't up to our standard, but I think we started something that's pretty good. We had to clean up a few things in particular, both pass protection and run wise. But I think when we get into midseason form, it should be a good group.
What can you tell us about Central Florida? They had trouble running the ball in the first game, right?
It's a group that you kind of pick your poison, and FIU, I thought, went into the game dedicated to stop the run, and did a pretty good job of it. But they had 200-yard receivers, so I think that's just smart on Central Florida's side, which is if they're going to load up to stop the run and we can throw the ball, hey, let's go throw the ball. We try to be the same way. If somebody's going to drop a whole bunch of guys down in the box, we're not going to just run it just to run it. I mean, we'll run it when we feel like running it, but we also be able to take advantage of our matchups outside. So I think they have a physical runner. I think they have a physical offensive line. And now they've shown that they have some guys outside that can make plays too.
David, that was the most distraught I've seen Hogan after a game I can remember, like 3.5 years. Did you see that at all, or was he the same that he usually is to you? How's he been the last 48 hours?
He's been the same that he's been for 4+ years here. He's a big-time competitor that hates to lose. So to say that this loss was more than any other, I think is wrong. Competitors hate to lose to anybody, and so there haven't been a lot of losses around here, but every single one of them stings. So came back last night, had a really good practice, very upbeat. I love our seniors, in particular our captains. got the team fired up and in a position to say, you know, we're so much better than we showed, and it's time for us to play up to our capabilities. So, you know, I'm excited that's not just coming from the coaching staff; it's coming from the team. And one thing I did say in the locker room after the game, which was, you know, when you lose a game, in particular the fashion the way we lost it, everyone's going to be trying to pull us apart. Everyone wants us to point fingers. Everyone wants to say, okay, Coach Shaw doesn't know what he's doing. Maybe they need to change the offense. These guys are not playing. These guys should be playing. That's what's going to happen anytime you lose a game. And to half the coaches in college football, it's exactly what's happening all around the nation. And the good teams can handle a loss and bounce back and not let the outside influences bother our inside chemistry. We're going to be tight. We're going to play together. We're going to be physical. We're going to do things that we think are going to help us win football games. And that's how we've always operated here, and that's how we're going to continue to operate.
The thinness in the defensive line, is there any chance for the two true freshmen to get into the mix, or are they definitely redshirting?
I think it's most likely they're going to redshirt. You know, you never know if a lot of stuff happens. But I think both those guys are going to contribute a lot in the future. And I think they need this year to develop and get a little bigger and a little stronger. I'm extremely excited about them, though. They're doing some nice things in practice. And Wesley Anand is a big physical guy in the middle that we need at the nose position in particular. And Dylan Jackson is long and physical and athletic, you know, in the line of Henry Anderson and Josh Morrow. So I'm excited about those guys' future. It's just that as far as they're concerned, hopefully the future's not now. It's later.
But all the freshmen who did play in this game, are you anticipating all of them will, they're not going to redshirt, none of them will redshirt?
Yeah, no, I think these guys that are in position to play, I do believe as time goes on, their roles will increase. And once again, we've had a pretty good formula. So we have a pretty intricate offense, and on the offensive side, we try to spoon feed guys a little bit and get them comfortable. And every time they get something and they have it down, then we give them something else. So you'll see, you know, young men like Bryce get a little bit here and a little bit there and continue to start his career with us. Trent Irwin, you'll see him get some playing time. Saw some guys on the defensive side. Once again, we do a lot of things defensively, so you can't just throw a true freshman out there and give them everything. So you give them a little bit at a time, but you'll see some guys get some more playing time on the defensive side also.
I know there were some breakdowns by your running backs in terms of pass protection, but how did Marks play?
Danny Marks played well. You know, once again, first-time full-time starter as a fullback. Gosh, I want to say he was very, very high percentile as far as him getting his job done. He is physical. He is big. He's athletic. And you know, wasn't perfect necessarily, but was good. It was very, very encouraging. And I'm excited about him as well.
Last year you had 2 or 3 home games till the student body showed up, and that showed kind of some loudness at Stanford. How much does that affect the players?
Well, I think it's rough. Yeah, there's not much we can do about it, and it's outside of trying to, you know, Bernard Muir's done a good job, I thought, trying to make sure that we get more home games a little bit later. It's unavoidable to have at least one while the students are here. You know, we're trying not to get to the point where we have 3, because it's unfair to them. You know, yes, it's unfair to our players, but I think it's unfair to the student athletes. I mean, it's a great experience, and we get great turnout from our student body. You know, but it's a scheduling issue with, you know, college football getting a little bit earlier and, you know, having to play, you know, 3, sometimes 4 games before school starts. So in years past, we've been able to secure a bye in that first week, which is not necessarily great because a couple times we had to play 12 straight. But it pushed it back a little bit and allowed our students to have more games. So there are a lot of options, which I get apprised of, and sometimes I get to put my 2 cents in. But I think Bernard Muir's done a good job trying to make sure that what happened last year doesn't happen very frequently.
Are the students looking forward to using the locker room?
We gave them a glimpse a couple weeks ago. They're really excited. Mr. Arriaga and his crew did a phenomenal job, and it now feels like a big time locker room, and our guys are fired up.
Will there be any limitations on good juice this week?
Just volume. He is 100% healthy. He's not injured. Just kind of the conditioning of getting back to playing, and I don't think he's ready to play 65, 70 plays if that's what it takes. So, yes, he'll start, but at the same time, you'll see Francis Wusu out there. You'll see Trenton Irwin out there. Devin's a big part of what we have planned, and he was great last week. He understood the plan. Francis worked his tail off and had a great training camp and was in great shape. So Francis played the bulk of the first half, and we spotted Devin a little bit. And after halftime, we got him in and got him a lot more plays.
There were a few others, upsets in the Pac-12 other than yours. I was wondering what you thought was the biggest surprise of the first week.
Well, I think college football coaches are a little different than you guys. We're not surprised by a lot. We all know, as was mentioned earlier, we don't have a preseason, and I'm pretty consistent, and I say the same thing at the beginning of every year, and some guys pay attention to it, some guys don't. No one knows what they have until you play 4 games. Not the number 1 team or the number 75 team. You don't know exactly what you have until you play 3 to 4 games and get a chance to see your new guys or some of your older guys in new positions or some of your veteran guys that have put on weight or taken weight off. You don't completely know what you have until you play those first few games. So this is game 1 for us and for most people. And then game 2, some really other bright spots will come up and some other dark spots will come up. So I think we're all trying to figure out really who we are so that when we hit mid-season, we can all go on a run.
David, one more question about the defensive line. Do you know what percentage of the time you guys have played just 2 linemen because the other team's got 3 or 4 receivers? Does that happen often?
Well, when we get into conference play, it'll be a lot. It's the majority of the snaps. So, but we do still want to play some base, play our base 3-4, even versus some of those extra receiver sets, just game plan wise. But there's a significant portion of what we call nickel in every game, in particular in our conference, especially this year without playing Utah, which would kind of get into 2 backs like we will. We're going to play a lot of spread teams this year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, David.
See you guys.